A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you're watching us. This is Herman Manyora's YouTube channel, and welcome to another episode of the County Talk. My name is Evan Sokinyi. It's a pleasure to have you on board. Well, I'm joined by the one and only Professor Herman Manyora. Prof, how are you?
Wonderful.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Evans.
Just before the year ended, actually, I think it actually ended well for the president, being ranked actually among the top 100 most influential African leaders we have around here, and of course in matters governance and policing, he was actually ranked the best in terms of reputation in such kind of criteria. And of course that kind of ranking also had the name of the Chief Justice of Kenya, Honorable Chief Justice Martha Koome, being ranked there actually on matters fighting for human rights. Let me ask you this question. Do you believe that our president is as influential and reputable as these rankings actually portray him right now? Or do you see something else beyond these rankings?
I don't know that. I've not seen it. I don't know who was ranked with him. So I have very little to say. I don't know who ranked. I don't know the intention. I don't know who he was competing against. Really, if you say 100 most influential in Africa, that's too big a crowd. Who are those? If you are ranking about African president, there are lots of about 50. There cannot be 100. So who is this he's ranking against? I need to look at it. But granted, Ruto is a famous man. Ruto is not your average person. No. No, he's not. So I wouldn't be surprised if in a ranking he performs well. Yeah. In any case, if the ranking person is an outsider, he is unlikely to know some of the little issues we have in the country. If somebody has become president, that's why all these observer missions, people blame them. That the election was stolen and they don't know, the Americans, the Germans, the British. No, don't blame them. Then they look at the process and they think it was fair. They send observers in the field. The voting is good. The registration of voters is good. People go and vote. They go home. Their votes are counted. They may not know that the devil is in the final bit. Transfer of power. Hapo ndo kanakwamaga. Transfer of power kanakwama tu hapo. So they are commenting on the process, which is correct. The German, the English, all the European Union people. But they can't know that the transfer of power, that end bit, that button, now to say it is Raila Odinga. It is Herman Manyora. That is where the problem is. And you can't blame them. So if people are ranking Ruto, for example, they may not know the internal dynamics that make you and I perhaps doubt. Yeah.
No. Let me just ask you from your own perspective, on a scale of 1 to 10, where actually 1, of course, represents the very least and 10 actually the highest. How do you rate President Ruto's performance on, especially when you now consider governance and public policy?
I think I'll give him 4 to 5.
Oh, you're too mean.
4 is pass. I teach at the university. 4 is pass. 40% pass.
More or less close to what Raila gave him.
I think that's a fair score for Ruto. And even then, because we like him.
For somebody of that,
it could be worse.
For him to be recognized internationally in matters public policy and governance, I think he may deserve some sort of.
I'm telling you, I don't know who is ranking, what body is ranking, what is the agenda, hidden and otherwise. If people are ranking him on policy on agriculture and they are pushing for GMO, they will give him 101 marks out of 100 because he's pushing their GMO agenda. If IMF is ranking him in matters of policy, they will rank him highest because he's removing subsidies and bringing IMF conditionalities. They will rank him highly. But we know, those of us who have been around for a while, those things have rarely worked in third world countries. So it depends on the agenda of the person ranking.
During the campaign trail, we saw a number of leaders actually who are contending for the same kind of position. The likes of Martha Karua and Raila Odinga and so on. People are very concerned about this man Ruto, and they were asking actually. They didn't even really. They actually had problem with the kind of temper that the president, the president, by then the deputy president had. They were saying this. Somebody who cannot even control his temper, or perhaps would be a dictator, or would actually easily lose his temper, and perhaps saying that he was not actually fit to lead the country at that particular moment. But some people also imagined, or rather believed, that yes, Ruto may seem a little bit harsh. Of course, he said there very well that he answered these people that unga is retailing at 200 shillings, more than that. What do you expect me to be happy about right now when everything is actually wrong and everything is bad in the country? Do you expect me to be laughing? And that is how he actually managed to play his way out of that. Now, my question there comes here. There are those people who believed that perhaps Ruto would be a benevolent dictator. Somebody would be radical as perhaps Magufuli of Tanzania, and would steer this country to the next level. Do you think that is, so far the president has proved these people wrong or right?
You know, we are all different. You can't impose your character on Ruto. And Ruto was in an election. He was not in a love context. He was in a context for political office, highest office in the land. So they expect him to be laughing with them. No. What I find strange is you using the word benevolent and the Ruto in the same sentence. Benevolent dictators are people who have a vision for a country. And they know within the confines of what we call the democracy, they cannot achieve anything. So they normally come through maybe a revolution or the outdated military takeovers, and those are things of the past. And they don't work within the restrictions of our constitution. And even if there's a constitution as in places like Turkey, they will tend to always step on it. But the bottom line is a benevolent dictator is a person who has a clear vision for a country, who, if he stays in office for a period, he leaves a mark. He changes many things. And we only call him a dictator because he disregards what we call democracy. He disregards the constitution. But the overriding thing is the overriding good for the country. He brings policies, implements them, which if you do them within the confines of constitutional order or democracy, it will be very difficult, because all the talk of public participation, legislation, and all the noise people make, he dispenses with those niceties. Sometimes, because there will always be resistance, because people over time, people are used to a certain way of doing things. Because there will always be resistance from those who have been benefiting, he will always tend to crush them in some way or the other. Of course, in the past, in the olden days, in a very crude way, we can't say on a show like this. But even now, and it's still happening in the world, he will still crush them. Of course, not physically. That's a benevolent dictator. I don't think Ruto is a benevolent dictator. He's not a dictator, neither is he benevolent in any way.
No, there are a number of people who, of course, said that Ruto is actually a brainchild of Moi kind of political school, and is actually, you remember the Moi Rule and how Kenyans actually, whenever we look at, some people actually do say, or rather do say that those are some of the dark days, as you've mentioned here, and they were like, now this is actually a product of Moi, a political product of the late former president Daniel Toroitich arap Moi. Let's see him actually, let's give him this chance, and we'll actually see ourselves go back to those. There are people who thought so, but then there are also these people who said, well and good, he may go back there, he may be, you may be right in saying that he may take us back to this, but as long as he does the right thing, and that is, I think that is where the issue of benevolence came to be. And some people are saying, okay, well and good, let's see how he will actually perform. But so far so good. Do you think Ruto is just like any other normal African president? Yeah,
just a normal African president, doing some good things, a few, 1 or 2 good things, 6 or 7 bad things, and the country moves forward. And you know, In terms of returning people to the one-party state under Moi and Kenyatta before him, you see, people are worried about his affront to the Constitution in terms of appointment of cabinet secretaries, in terms of trying to introduce legislation, official leader of the opposition, in terms of introducing ministers in public parliament, in terms of supporting the unconstitutional CDF, and perhaps many other things. And people are wondering, this guy not trying to take us back. Again, they could have a point, but maybe they could be just worried for nothing. Maybe anapanga serikali yake. Anaposema, labda anapanga. Maybe he's organizing his government. So some of these things you give time and see how they work.
No, the Deputy President Rigathi said that he does not drink. Same to the President.
So that's very good.
They do not drink actually.
But
so they are sober.
Neither did Hitler drink.
Yeah. No, recently the President
Hitler
said
never.
that,
Hitler was a teetotaler. Winston Churchill was a drunkard and a chain smoker. Between the two of them, who has left behind a good history. So really, not drinking is neither here nor there. No.
And he said that for them it will be work throughout. They do not have time and.
You can work very hard towards evil ends. Hard work does not necessarily translate to what's good to society. I think to me, working in the best interest of the people of Kenya is what I will go for. So that you do everything possible to make sure the life of the people of Kenya is better. Even if you don't succeed, some you succeed halfway, some you fail. But all in the direction of making this country a better place. And you are sincere in your heart. You don't need to be a teetotaler. If you are, better. If you don't, no problem. You don't need to work 24 hours, 26 hours in a day. You could work 8. The more the better. So it's not a question of being a teetotaler. It's not a question of how hard you work. It's just how sincere are you? How honest are you? How are Kenyans dear to you? How much do you love your country? How much do you love the people of this country? How much are you willing to sacrifice to make Kenya a better place? That to me is what matters. Yeah.
And of course, our president being sober, of course, we expect that he reasons actually well and soberly every time that he comes out to address people. And of course, recently he also defended his actual stance on GMO, saying very well that he, in his right and conscious mind, he cannot actually put the lives of Kenyans at risk. But you've always gone heads-on with his actual policy on GMO, saying that, well, you're risking our lives here. Do you think that...
that is where the sincerity I'm talking about, that's where the honest I'm talking comes.
So he's not being sincere then?
He's not being sincere, he knows. Ruto is a scientist, he knows. He's a Christian, he knows. He's somebody pushing. And he can come here with debate. I will tell him, yes, I have my own thinking. Even before you had your cabinet, you are pushing GMO. What was the speed for? Even before any legislation or any engagement at any level, we hear the ships are already coming with GMO. That kind of speed cannot come from a person who is honest and sincere about his country. You are doing the bidding of other people. This is what we think. We could be wrong. And GMO cannot be something you just introduce in Kenya and say you are being honest, you are a man of God, you are a scientist. You can't be sincere. You should be. I tell people, begin by being sincere to yourself, not to the people listening to you. Be sincere to yourself and ask yourself, as a God-fearing man, as a scientist, do I believe GMO is good for this country now, at this time? What I believe is we cannot escape the debate and the conversation around technology in these matters. Biotechnology. You cannot escape from the science that produces these GMOs. You can't run away from it. So you need to have a conversation of how to engage on biotechnology, on what GMO is, on what aspects. We already have cotton, GBT, what is it called? BT something, yeah? You know, we have that. There are things already on GMO we are already using. So we need to educate the masses they know. Then we need to know which are the safe ways Because nobody can come here, even the best scientist in the world cannot claim to be 100% sure that GMO is safe. No, not even one has ever claimed.
No. Let's say that, but as it stands, of course, as it stands right now, because that ban is still lifted, we are yet to see what will actually happen. Now, Prof, as the Kenyans actually begin this year, we saw the cabinet meet and actually trying to kind of go back, think, recess, and actually focus on a better way of actualizing the plan, as was said by Mudavadi, the Prime Cabinet Secretary. One, let me just ask you, as we wind up this conversation, do you believe in such kind of meetings? Was it necessary, or was it just a wastage of the taxpayers' money?
To go and please karaoke the owner of the place, take him some little money, fine, that's okay. You say, you must be good to friends. One thing about poor people, they engage in showmanship, in noisy things. That's categories of poor, backwards people. So you go to a university, for example, a poor university with no money at all, can hardly float, spending time and energy and money on a graduation. You go to serious universities, this is a simple thing. It's a very simple. So Africans, poor people, backwards people, engaging in endless meetings. Whenever there's a convention in Europe, it's the Africans who take huge delegations. It is said Kenya took this one of Egypt, 200 people. You know, this is the problem with Africans. This is the problem with Kenya. What are you going to do in a hotel? What exactly are you going to do? Let me tell you finally. When I want to look for somebody in an office, I go, I'm told he's in a meeting. Tomorrow I go, he's in a meeting. I go 5 days, Monday to Friday. You can't meet the person. He's in a meeting. Failure is an admission of failure. It's evidence of failure. An admission that you cannot make decisions. So if I go to an office and find people are never in that office, they are in meetings, it means if I look at the structure of that organization, decision making is not there. You are given us an office, but you cannot make a decision. So you must go to a meeting. The next guy ahead of you cannot make a decision. Cannot even sign a check of 200,000. The CEO must sign. So finally, meetings will be the order of the day. So the government is right to go for meetings. But we know we are at a time when there are challenges in this country. And we need to save every penny we can lay our hand on. We need to avoid wastage. The government should send message clear to all departments and ministries that we will not allow wastage. No more meetings in Naivasha, Mombasa, people going to Dubai, India. There's nothing they are going to do.
That message was sent before.
That message was not sent when you go and stay in such a lavish place for 4 days. What is this? You could not meet somewhere in a Rambe house, in a boardroom and finish.
But
what is this you are saying there?
That is what the
to go and drink, to go and clean yourself well, wash well, take breakfast, walk there, face Mount Kenya. That is cheap and foolish, I'm telling you. This country will not move forward unless we change from those kind of things. We must say it is work and it's business. We can't afford the luxury of such a small things. And the message we are sending to lower people down there is good to take your staff to a hotel, to waste the little resources you have, to waste the time you should be serving people. So if you ask me, that meeting was a sure waste of time, waste of resources, and above all, a bad signal to departments, government parastatals. They now know it's okay to take people to hotels, to discuss nothing. If you go to one of those ministers and ask, I say, can they tell you anything? We're part of kazi ministry, and there's a PS there who knows what's going on. Begin to implement the policies, come up with the new bills and new policies, not to go and eat mandazi in hotels.
Well, there you have it from Professor Herman Manyora himself. We are actually looking at this man, Ruto, and how he goes about managing this country. Of course, he is our leader here, our president, and of course, the commander-in-chief of Kenyan Defense Forces. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's wait and see how the president will actually go about managing the affairs of Kenya, because we wish him all the very best. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop at that point, but do not fail to interact with us here. Of course, you can comment down here so that we get your views on each and everything that you want us to cover for you here, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, you can contact us at Nairobi Review and of course at Herman Manyora here, so that we can actually get back to you and deliver to you everything that you want to hear. My name is Evans Okinyi. Till we meet next time.
Thank you, Evans.